First off, thank you for tuning in to No Guards Needed podcast. My name is Dejan. I'm your host. And today we're just going to be talking about why I became a barber, how I became a barber in that journey. Normally I have a guest, but today that didn't work out, and I just wanted to put up a show. I enjoy doing this. So one of the things people always ask me when they sit in a chair is, how did you get into cutting hair? That's a general question, right? So today I'm just going to spend time kind of telling that journey. So starting off, my work life, I guess, as an adult began pretty much in the military. Did some things before that, but I was a firefighter in the military for a few years. And then after I got out of that, I went back to my mom's house, and I was kind of sitting there. I didn't necessarily want to do the firefighting thing anymore. And that's a story for another time, but I ended up getting into personal training for a bit. So that was for years. I did that for almost a decade. Then some things happened in my life and I needed some change, so I moved from Maryland to Hawaii, and then from Hawaii to California. And that's where I met Chelsea, who is my wife, and at the time we were both personal trainers. So I was at this gym called In Shape. It's kind of like it's a West Coast thing. It's kind of like a LA Fitness type deal. So hired, a guy named Eric hired me. He was around my age at the time. I was about 30, or I was probably about 28, and I pretty much was in Hawaii. I can't move from Hawaii to California just to make some money so I can move to Australia. Because I met a girl in Hawaii that said I could live out there for free. So I was like, say less. So ended up in California living with my uncle so I could just make some money, right? I just needed to make some quick cash. I didn't want to go over to Australia and be a complete bum, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to save up some scratch so I can go over there with a little something. So, let's take a step back, get back in the gym. So I was in the gym, I was training, I was working there. I don't know, I'd have to ask Chelsea, but probably the first week I was there or so, I wasn't there to make any friends. I'm kind, I like to talk, obviously that's why I'm doing this, but I don't really engage many people just like randomly on the street, right? So, or even at the job like that. I'm just not like that. So I pretty much said to myself, I'm not here to make any friends. I'm going to leave within 6 months. So I'm just going to focus on grinding out at work. I generally pick one person in my life where I'm at to kind of befriend, and that becomes my homie. So Eric was my manager, and he was the only one that was close to my age. So that was the dude that I picked. So I would chill. I would talk to Eric. I didn't talk to any of the other trainers. I didn't talk to anybody, really, except for my clientele. Well, fast forward, Chelsea got hired like the day before me or the week before me, something like that. We're really close together. So, like I said, I wasn't speaking to any of the trainers either, really, except for, occasional hi and bye, or I don't even think I was doing that, to be honest. So here comes Chelsea. For perspective, Chelsea is this 5'1", little brunette, blue-eyed girl from the country. And I was at the time, right now I'm about 160, but then I was in full lift status, so I was probably about 185, pretty stacked. And this girl just comes up, as I'm walking, she steps in front of me and was just introduces herself like, hey, my name is Chelsea, and we've been working together for such and such long, and you haven't said a single word to me. And I was just like, all right. And that was the beginning of a friendship, right? That eventually turned into a marriage, believe it or not. So I have to tell that for context, because we became friends and then we started dating and we were living together. And I went from training throughout my early 20s. I was training bodybuilders. Shout out to those few that I did train and did some shows and won. It was great. Excuse me. So we were living together, and I was kind of complaining. I wasn't liking what I was doing. It just didn't fulfill me anymore, because I went from training, weekend athletes pretty much that took this thing seriously to training, your average person that just they were trying to get better, but most people, they didn't want to push. They didn't want to work hard. There were a lot of excuses, and I just felt like I was a 28-year-old babysitting people in their mid-40s, and it was just weird. I didn't like that feeling, and it just wasn't getting it for me. So I'm talking to Chelsea. Like I said, didn't really know what to do. So I ended up, there was a situation where she ended up having to, I actually told her, I suggested that she leave her job because there was some drama there. So I used my GI Bill and jumped into massage therapy, and just so I could get I went all the way to school in San Francisco just so I could collect that BAH. That way she could figure out what she wanted to do and I could figure out what I wanted to do. And I had already done a little bit of the massage therapy thing and finished that out, and that got weird real quick for me, so I didn't do that. And so then I was kind of stuck in limbo. I didn't know what to do. So Chelsea, pretty much, I'm talking to her, and Chelsea went and got her cosmetology certificate a few years before that. Didn't practice hair, but she did it, and we were just talking one day, and she was just like, hey, you should go be a cosmetologist. And I was just like, no, at first she said, excuse me, she said, you should go do hair. And I was like, be a barber? And she's like, no, be a cosmetologist. And I just looked at her and I was just like, out of all the things that I've done, played sports my whole life, firefighting, a bunch of other crazy shit that I did, everything was adrenaline based for the most part, right? And I asked her, what makes you think that I want to do this? And you gotta love people who know you. And I think this is a moment where I really realized that she pays attention to me. So she gave me a list of things. She came at me logically, and being the kind of guy that I am, I mean, it impacted me. She was just like, look, you were raised by women pretty much, so you know how to be around women and not make them feel uncomfortable. You know how to joke with them and laugh and be a dude, but at the same time, you don't make them feel like you're trying to get after them or something like that, right? So I was like, all right, cool, bet. 2, she said, you're pretty artistic. You like to build things. You like to create things with your hands. And when you're cutting hair, that's essentially what you're doing. You're sculpting people's hair to do something. I was like, all right, bet, that's true. And then the third thing, she was just like, look, you can't get bored because even if you do the same haircut on 3 different people, you have to attack it 3 different ways because everybody's head's different. And I was like, shit. I was like, you're right. Like, dang. All right, so I ended up going to, shout out to Cinta Aveda in San Francisco. I went down there, checked out the Paul Mitchell one, and checked out Cinta Aveda. Aveda had more of the vibe that I was looking for. So I asked them, I was like, yo, what's up? Never done this before. I don't know if it's what I want to do. What can I do? And they were just like, look, you got 30 days to figure it out. You start your first class, or you start your class, and within a month, if you don't like it, then all you have to do is pay back the equipment and you're good to go. And you can go ahead and go about your way and you're not going to worry about losing anything. And I was like, all right, cool. Full disclosure, I was going to school in San Francisco and making like $4,200 a month. So, and I think the equipment was like $1,000. So to me, I was like, I'm in the black no matter what. So might as well dive in, right? So that's what I did. And if it's 2005, I think it's been about 10 years now since then. Maybe close to 10, like 9. So I've been doing hair ever since. Started out as a cosmetologist, basically doing women's hair for a couple years, and that was cool. I had a couple people that I worked with that really cared, and they tried to put they gave me the tools that I needed to succeed, and I think I just wasn't, it was cool working with women, don't get me wrong, it was fun doing the color. I actually like doing blowouts. It's super methodic for me. Very meditative. So that was cool. It just wasn't for me, man. I was a dude working with a bunch of girls, and it was just being me. I wasn't feeling fulfilled, and there was a couple things that were being said, and then if I said something, I would get called aggressive too many times, and simply for, saying how I felt in the moment, but because I was a dude, it was rubbing up against emotions, and there was a lot of things there where I was just like, this is cool, but this is a little bit too much, I'm rubbing people the wrong way too often just being me. So maybe I need to go somewhere else. So I actually ended up getting out of there, and I just needed a job, right? So I went through a Supercuts, man, because I needed to work on my haircuts. I had been focused on cutting women's hair for a long time, so I didn't feel like I had the chops to go into a barbershop yet. So I went down, buckled down, got into a Supercuts. And then I went over into a barbershop in Sac. That was an interesting place, man. It was kind of hood. It was, the barbers were, I was probably 29, and all the barbers were older than me except for like one, and it was cool, but it was pretty rough, man. Everybody came from a pretty rough background there. There was a lot of, there was tensions at times because somebody would say something. I remember one specific time, I was still new. We had the menu for the haircuts and all the services up top, and somebody came in and they wanted like a cut and a beard trim, and they were like, how much for a cut and beard trim? And I don't know, I looked at the numbers and I added it up on the board. There was nothing that said cut and beard trim, so just a cut and a beard trim. So just trying to be customer service, I was like, hey man, cut and beard trim is whatever. Let's just say it was, $50 or something, right? Let's say it was $50 for a cut and beard trim or something. And he was just like, oh man, that's too much. And he left. And it wasn't my turn for the walk-in, it was his other barber's. So that instant, because that dude left, and that was supposed to be his money, apparently that really pissed this barber off, because a couple days later, dude is just ready to fight me. Like, we had to go outside and all the barbers had to come out. We had to have like this conversation. Like, we were coming to, like, it was damn near coming to blows over the dude walking away, because he was like, I would have only charged 10 blah 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 and to get him to stay. And I was like, dude, I didn't know. You could have said something in that moment. So it was just way too much drama for me, man, for a bunch of grown adults that were older than me. I can't do that, and I'm not living in hostility like that. Life when I was younger was too hostile for me, man. I'm good. So I chose to bounce out, went back to Supercuts, or Sport Clips, I think, and then COVID happened. So couldn't cut hair for a couple months, for a year. I was cutting here and there, at people's houses and trying to keep in mind. I had a couple of clients coming over once every couple of weeks or something like that. I was still cutting a little bit here and there. But fast forward, Chelsea and I decided to come to Texas for family reasons and whatnot. So we moved back down here. I happened to link up and get a job at, I think I was actually working at a Supercuts, or I had worked for one. So transferring over here to one was easy. So fortunately, I called the Supercuts here in Burleson and talked to a manager, and she was willing to hire me from out of state. So that was great. The owner, love her. That was, it was awesome that I appreciate the opportunity that it gave me, not knowing a dude from another state coming through and giving me a job. So that was awesome. So I came to Texas, started at Supercuts in Burleson, and then ended up within a few months taking a management position over in Benbrook. So I was there for a few years. When I first got here to Texas, actually, I went to Fort Worth Barber Supply because I was looking for some clippers, and Edward actually offered me a job there on the spot. And I was just like, oh shit, kind of caught me off guard. I was a little insecure, didn't feel my cuts were up to chops, cuts are up to standard. And I was a little afraid, to be real, to step into a barbershop like that. So I gave him an offer. I told him, I was like, hey man, I think I said something like, because he asked me, he's like, what are you getting paid? And I was just like, oh, I'm making this much. He goes, oh man, you could make more than that here in a few, like the amount that you're making there, you could probably make in a couple weeks here. And I was like, yeah. And then because I was feeling insecure, I was like, yeah, but I only pay $50 a month for insurance because I'm a manager and I get bonuses. And he was like, oh, well, yeah, you have to get your own insurance. And he was just like, yeah, it is what it is, but you can come whenever come back whenever you're ready, basically. And I was just like, dope, man, appreciate it. So stayed at this Benbrook for a couple years. Then it was just, once, I was charging more than, I was actually upcharging everybody for my haircuts at those places because I was doing bald fades, balding people out, doing all these things. So I was actually charging more per haircut than everybody else. I think it was about a $5 upcharge I think I was doing. So, I got done, after cutting there for a bit, and I will say, in all honesty, my heart was kind of getting taken out of it, because working at Supercuts, you're cutting a lot of people that don't really care about their haircut, and it was just, I don't expect people to be like, oh my God, this is so amazing, but it was just, it got, I guess it sucked that generally 95% of the people that came through was just like, hey man, what can I do for you today? Oh, I just want a basic haircut. Oh, all right, man, what's a basic haircut? Oh, just a basic haircut. Oh, all right. I mean, it just, nobody really cared, and it was just there. Most of those people were getting their haircut because they had to, not because they were enjoying the service or enjoying the experience. It was more like a burden for these people, and that made me feel, I didn't like that, didn't like the vibe. So I appreciated the growth that I got there, the management experience, the ability to work on my haircuts in the way that I needed to, and having that time to grow and get better. So that was dope. So I'll never not appreciate the time that I put in there. But it was time for me to move on. So I was looking at different barbershops in the area. I found one that I went to, and it was cool. The owners were great. Again, I stayed there for about a month, and it wasn't my vibe, yeah, just great people, great shop, great people, just wasn't me, wasn't what I was looking for to fit me. And I believe in this industry, you definitely need to get in where you fit in, because in my mind, whenever you're providing these services to people, it's the whole thing, right? It's who you are, it's what you're wearing, it's how your conversation is, it's the energy that you're giving, it's the energy it's how you're receiving the energy that is given to you, and how do you redirect those energies, right? So all of that has to do with like your ambiance, the people you're around, everything like that. So, this particular shop just wasn't, like I said, it just wasn't the fit for me. So I ended up looking again, and I was at the gym, my local gym that I go to, Fitness Connection, shout out to them, appreciate y'all. And there happened to be a barber, like I said earlier, I'm not really the person to randomly talk, like small talk and stuff like that, but I'm also not afraid to come up and talk to you if I have a question at all. So I saw this guy that was working out. He had a shirt on that said, I'm your barber, or I'm a barber, or something barber related, right? So I was like, all right, bet. So I went up to him, and I was like, hey man, excuse me, bro. I was like, do you know any other, where do you cut hair at? Do you know any barbershops? Any suggestions? This is where I'm at. This is what I'm looking for. This is a level of where I'm comfortable at when it comes to my cuts, and blah, 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 blah. So he ended up sitting down. He was just like, hey man, he goes, what do you feel about booth rent? And I was like, man, I don't know if I want a booth rent. I think at the time I was like, I know exactly what it was. I'm not from here. I don't know nobody. I had nobody to come to me, so I couldn't have a booth rent because I wasn't going to be able to get any clients, right? And I just came from a Supercuts, and not many people, those haircuts were, at the time, I think they were like $25-$30, right? And a lot of those cats that were getting their hair there, they didn't like that price, so they definitely ain't going to jump up into a shop where I'm charging $40, $60, that's just not going to happen, nor do I expect that. So I was like, all right. So I told him, I was like, nah, that's not what I'm looking for. And he goes, well, there's this barbershop called The District. And I was like, what's that? And he was just like, man, it's a dope barbershop. They got a couple shops. For him, he was like, I suggest you go in there, see if you can get a job there, hang out there, get your chops, and then if you want to move on, you can move on. But I can't remember the dude's names. I wish I did. I appreciate you, dude, because when you did, giving me that suggestion, I ended up reaching out. And fortunately, The District was literally right down the street, like within like maybe 2 or 3 miles from where I was cutting hair currently at the time at a different barbershop. So came in and spoke with Ivan, and I was just like, hey man, I cut hair, blah, blah, obviously, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to, get an interview or whatnot. So he, said, cool, sign me up for an interview or whatever. So I came back down on a certain day or something. We went over to the other side and, had those questions. He asked me the general ones and twos, what's up, who am I, blah, blah, blah. Told him my journey that I just said, and really was just explaining to him, man, I'm ready to move up. I'm ready to get into that next level of my craft, whatnot, this, and that. And he gave me the chance. He was just like, all right, bro, you got it. He's like, come on. You can have a test day, and we'll see if you mesh with the shop, see if we, where your cuts are or whatnot, and then we'll go from there. I was like, dope. So I think my test day was on a Monday or something like that. I don't know. It was on a day, and me being who I am, sometimes I get overly excited about things, and I either come too hard too fast, or I procrastinate all the way up into the point where I'm like stressing because I need to get everything done in a quick second. So this time, instead of procrastinating, I chose to get excited, and I came in the day before, and I came in and I walked in, and Micah was at the front. Micah had been here for maybe a month, so he didn't really know the rules yet. And I remember coming in and looking at him, and he's at the front desk, and I'm like, hey, Micah. Or I didn't even know his name. I was like, hey, man, I have an interview tomorrow. Is it cool if I, bring my stuff in and, set up or whatnot? And he was like, yeah, sure. So I bring in all my stuff. I drop all my stuff down, and then I get I think a couple of our barbers were in here looking at me kind of funny, Marcus and Carlos, and I think it was Christian. They were kind of looking at me like, what is this guy doing? And then I get a call from Ivan, and Ivan's like, hey, man, you need to grab your stuff, man, your interview's not till tomorrow. I can't remember how it went down, and I was just like, oh shit, man. I was like, fuck, dude, I hope you not think I'm not trying to step on any toes. I was just excited, trying to get things done. He was like, no, man, just get your stuff and just come in tomorrow. I was like, all right, cool. But so right off the bat, I was like, oh man, I know I can come off as too much at times, and I was just like, shit, I'm just excited. I hope they don't think that I'm trying to I don't know, strong arm or walk over or anything like that, because that's not me. That's not who I am. So I was already just like, fuck. So I came in the next day, set up, said hi to everybody. Everything went well. Nervous, sweating down my back, cutting people's hair. Yeah, just really, nervous about my face, because everybody in here was smashing it, man. And you had dudes, I'm the oldest dude in the shop, and you had dudes that were in here, that were younger than me, haircuts better than mine, which, I mean, honestly, I ain't stressed about that. If anything, I appreciate people being better than me. But it was just, I was like, fuck, man, I got to get my chops up, man. I don't want to be that dude, right? So, I didn't know how that was going to go. I did not know how Ivan was going to feel about my haircuts or whatnot, but it went well. He ended up offering me the job, and my first day was on my birthday, actually. So September 25th. So that was dope. 2 years ago. Coming up on my 2-year anniversary here, in 11 days? So less than 2 weeks. Turning 38, by the way. And I've been here ever since, man, and it's been a journey, man. It's been a blessing, huge blessing. Cutting hair was never something that I thought I'd do. I cut a couple dudes while I was in the military. I'd line myself up and stuff just for inspections and stuff like that, but never thought of it as a career. So, shout out to my wife for putting this idea in my head and encouraging me to do it. And shout out to the people along the way that kept me going. And, big shout out to Ivan and Edward for giving me this chance. Because over this last couple years, I've come to really love what I do on many different levels, right? I really get to, people always talk about, what is your passion? I would say that my passion isn't cutting hair. My passion is people. And I get to fulfill my passion by cutting hair. And it's also something that I love to do, because it is creativity. It is making people feel comfortable, making people feel welcome, and just a place to kind of wind down. You come in, get your hair cut. When you sit in my chair, you can kind of just forget about all the bullshit for that 30 minutes to an hour that we're cutting hair, get anything off your chest, relax, not say shit, or, laugh and joke, or, whatever, man. And I feel so blessed to be able to be a part of people's lives in that manner. And that's what really draws me to continue to do what I do. I had a compliment from a client not too long ago that, said, I think he told me, man, my son, I've been bringing him to barbers for years trying to find somebody that he likes. And, he never likes, he always never wants to go back to anybody, man. And he goes, this last time you cut his hair, he wants to come back to you. I told him we can bring him somewhere else. And for the first time, he was just like, man, no, I like him. I like the shop. I like him. I want to go to him. And I was just like, man, the fact that I could make a kid feel comfortable, and then, his dad, he enjoys coming to me too. And I've, over the last month, I've had, a lot of culmination of a lot of people talking to me. And, I've had a few people just say, man, I really appreciate what you do. And, I've cut a whole family, including, the other day I cut this guy, and I cut his son. And I gave his son a perm. I cut his dad, like a little mullet thing going on. Love them people. They're super cool. And then his wife actually came in, and I did a full cover, like a little gray coverage with a little light layering and little, one length, one length. And then she asked for some layers, so I add some layers in there. And I haven't done that forever. But, he texted me afterwards, and he was like, dude, you've cut my entire family, man. You take care of us. And, there have been times where they've, like, missed appointments or things have gone wrong. And I work with him or whatever. And he just showed so much appreciation. And it's just like, that's what I live for, man. Like, I live to touch people's lives, man. Like, in the littlest ways. Like, I'm not trying to be a superhero or anything. It's the little things, right? Like, it's just, creating a place of peace for people. Like, that is the coolest thing for me, because everybody, things come from what you experience, right? And I guess I never really had a place of peace growing up. So creating my own space and creating peace for myself has been a big thing for me in my life. And I think that, I know now that is also a big part of what I like to give to other people, is places of peace. So being able to do this, being able to cut hair, being able to talk, being able to be a part of people's lives is just fulfilling into me in ways that I had no idea that this would be. So, love what I do. I'm in love with what I do. And I don't think I would ever want to do anything else. I don't know what somebody could come to and say that I could do something else, but whatever it is, it better be damn easy and I better not have to try to do shit. But because I love this. This is awesome. It would be really hard for me to step away from this. And it's also just, I get to do a lot of cool things with this. Not only do I get to cut hair, I get to branch out and do other things. I get to do, some skincare stuff, which is fun. I do hair replacements, which is super cool, by the way. Like, being able to do these hair replacements for people that are, balding or thinning and still young. Not all of them, most of them are, I think all my hair clients right now are under 50 for sure. So young. And it's just, giving them that level of confidence back for them to be able to walk around. And, I had one guy tell me, because one of the things that I tell my clients when they do this for the first time is that it might be a little shocking for about the first week or so, the first time you have this, because you've seen yourself look a certain way so long that, you might have a little bit of that imposter syndrome type thing going on. And one of my clients came to me one day and he was like, man, after that week or so, I woke up and I saw myself, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something along the lines of, man, like, look, I saw myself and I was like, man, this is how I'm supposed to look. And he just the warmth in his voice and just how he said that to me was just like, I was like, damn. Like, being able to provide that level of confidence to somebody, man, you can't beat that, dude. You can't pay me enough for that. That's priceless, dude. Like, I love it. And also doing colors for people, man, and doing perms. I do a lot of perms. Most of my perms are going to be on the younger fellas, man, and it's so cool to do these perms on these younger kids, man, and they fucking love it. Got some adults that do it, and I love it when they fucking love it too. So it's just awesome, man. Like, I have a lot of fun, So I don't thank God, I don't have to get stuck to doing just one thing. I do so many things. I do color, I do skin, I do perms, I'm doing hair replacements. So it's just, I'm fun. I'm having fun. I'm living a life of fun. Like, I don't dread going to work, So that's how I got into hair. That's why I'm still doing hair. And look at where it got me now. If I never did hair, I would never be doing this podcast. If I never got up, if Edward never offered me that job and I had the courage to go step outside of my comfortable level and go and ask for the job and get here, I would never be doing this podcast. I would never have the opportunities to go to these classes that he takes care for us. I mean, dude, Edward takes care of everything for us. He gives us so much freedom. And I've never worked for somebody who wants to see other people succeed as much as he has. And you can't beat that, dude. Like, you really can't. It makes it hard for you. He says, if you leave, I want you to leave. I will help you. I will help you figure these things out if you have questions. Man, when somebody does that to you, it's hard to want to leave, right? Because you want to. I actually don't mind helping building this man up because he's helping building me up. And, my success is his success, and his success is I'm a part of his success, right? So that's fucking dope. Like, I have yet to be a part of that on that level, and or not even on any level. I've yet to be a part of that in that period and like feel that, So I was like, fuck yeah, this is dope. Yeah, so I can't complain, and I love where I'm at. I find myself now waking up and kind of like in a state of anxiousness because I'm looking for something to go wrong because I've lived in chaos my whole life, and now I'm sitting over here like, oh my God, like I'm good. I'm 100% debt free now. I'm paying my bills. I'm making enough money to where my wife doesn't have to work as much as she did. It's just awesome. Like I am in such a great place, and I'm beyond thankful. Like I sit here and do this. This fucking fly is killing me, guys. It's floating around. Oh my God. Anyways, hey, you chill. You do your thing. So I'm beyond grateful, man. And being able to do this thing and being able to share my story and talk to people and cut hair and create relationships and build them, and I couldn't ask for anything more. I really couldn't. And one thing I forgot to say is shout out to all those few clients that followed me from Supercuts. You guys are real ones. You guys been sticking with me for like 4 years, man. I cannot tell you guys how appreciative I am of you guys, and you guys know exactly who you are. I love y'all. I really do. And I appreciate that because every time I see you guys specifically, you guys really make me feel like I'm not an imposter in what I'm doing. And I feel the love whenever you guys come through and follow me, because you took a big jump in price and you guys drive way further than you used to. And you're still sticking with me. Through my other shop that I lasted for a month, you guys all came through there for that 1 month and came back over and then followed me over here, man. Like, so thankful. And I'm so thankful for all the people that see me, my regulars. I probably have around 60 regular clients right now, probably 60 to 70. I love each and every one of y'all for paying my bills. I really do. You guys are putting food on my table. You guys are putting clothes on my back. You guys are helping me put my kid in school. You guys are helping me do everything, helping me have another child. I mean, if without you, I wouldn't be able to, without you, I wouldn't eat. So I love all y'all all of my clients. I appreciate every single one of y'all, and I truly do. Yeah, man. So, I guess I'll just end with, you never know what you'll be happy with in life. And people may know you better, or people may see things in you better than you can see because you're in your own skin and they're on the outside. So pay attention to the people that care about you and see things, and pay attention to what they say, because you might end up in a better place than you thought you would be doing whatever you wanted to do. So stay appreciative, stay thankful, practice gratitude, something that I have to practice often and I have to tell myself to, because I can be selfish at times. Yeah. So I'm just going to leave it, man. Thank you guys for checking me out. And if you stayed through the whole thing, I really appreciate it. Go ahead and give me a like and subscribe. It really helps. Yeah. And for the last thing is shout out to Ivan, Edward, Rafa, and Amy. I really appreciate you guys, and I appreciate the opportunities you guys have put in front of me, and the ability to do the things that I have been and working with me. Much love. letting us hang out.